Sevele challenge industry uphala umhla ekseni asikuvusele sikumukele lo mhla ehleleni Kusile Breakfast Show. Sisamizini vokahle lo mhla ekseni. Thank you for waking up with us. Kukumbuta ukuthi you can also watch Kusile Breakfast Show on our YouTube page Eswatini TV. Sanifisela khona khona nje nobukela khona umsakazo Eswatini TV lanifeselako ulungelele makakula. It is the 10th of October 2023 10:10 to 3 Mguni. How are you this morning?
Doing very well, Lulu. How about yourself?
I'm great.
It is indeed a special day today. Like 10 and yes 10. We are hoping good to believe in some of these things where if numbers coincide or if certain things coincide, that's a sign for but yeah, it is going to be an interesting show yet again. Lomuhla ekseni sibuye ukuthini vuke nathi nisijoyine kunengakhulu. We have very interesting topics to discuss with interesting guests, but mine will be second. Discuss. What are you going to talk about today?
Right, on the show today namhla sitabe sikhulumisana nenhlangano i-Royal Women's Assembly inhlangano ke lena lebuke tona nje tindzaba tabomake kanye nemantombazana kakhulukazi nje emalungelo abo etindzabeni tekwabiwa kwemafa kanye netindzaba temhlaba. 15 October is International Royal Women's Day. This is an effort to celebrate the role played by women in feeding their families. So yekhanze ukuthi bomake baba netinkinga mangabe batalahlekelwa mhlambe bobabe bagabo. So khanze ukuthi sebamuca umhlaba sabayacosha emakhaya abo. Lenhlangano lena ke yabafundzisa bomake ukuthi itinyathelo dini lekumele ukuthi bebe sebayatithatha ngemgcibelo nje kulempela somvo batabe bakubhala ilanga labo leli attendwe tinkhulungwane tabomake labasuka esifundeni esisendasini eAfrica iSADC. Tabe sikhulumisana nabo nje ukuva ukuthi metamoyini vele labaye endako kuzama ukutraina labomake ukuthi batati letindzaba leti bawati emalungelo abo. Tabe sinabo ngo 7:30.
Yeah, we will also be joined by clinical psychologist Dr. Pepile Sugati. Lota sikhulumisa ngendzaba lenkulu kakhulu leboke nje ngomhlaba wonke esukwini la lomuhla njengoba ke we are commemorating World Mental Health Day. Lakangwane ke the current demand for mental services, particularly in the public health sector, has been growing at a rather frightening pace. But the biggest concern is that Lama services are outweigh the demand. When today's Mental Health Awareness Day, siyafuna ke kuva kuPhepile Sukati tindzaba tabo accessibility, affordability and stigmatization. Lesakubonakala ukuthi kungema challenges to those battling rather with a mental health disorder. Siyafuna kuva ukuthi how do we overcome these things and how do we lobby whoever we can lobby ekuseni imali ditfolakale ngoba phela sekutholakala ukuthi ama services are outweigh le demand ukuthi sive semaswati sitakala singadikhanzi sikuma statistics eveni lonke sibonile ke emuva nasita manje kokhulumisana ngetindzaba tabo suicide nabo depression leti tonke tingephansi kwaso samdlelo se mental health kutsi nangemambala it is a cause for concern. We want to unpack all of that with clinical psychologist Dr. Pepile Sugati later on the show.
Right, let's khathi asibuke nje leti hamba embili kumaphephandaba. Right, asiqale buke nge-e-Times of Eswatini lo mhla sibuke tihloko letihamba embili. Asileto letihamba embili kunetithombe lapha sihloko sithi soldier turns tables on armed robberies. Isigameko lesisendeke khona lapha eMbabane. There's a video footage showing a suspect member of a syndicate. Letinye letihamba embili isili kwane beneficiaries demand to see MD parents guardians say their children have been expelled from school for fees. Prophet Major V assaulted by church member Panta who lost 75,000 Malangeni found dead in forest. Demand 5,000 Malangeni from MP loser.
Prophet Major V assaulted by church member. Basendani lesibuthe. Asasibuke temidlalo letihamba embili ku Times of Eswatini. Birds in 1 million emalangeni bounty to lead the Times of Eswatini sports headlines. Capital City Giants increase earnings after claiming another silver medal 3 days ago. On another one, deadly striker Percy Tau is out of Sihlangu clash. So Al Ali Percy Tau will not play against Sihlangu in their friendly match penned for Friday at the FNB Stadium in South Africa. On another one, EFA extends registration. I believe this one speaks to the announcement of the exclusive extension of the first window registration period for the 2023-2024 season. On the international front, Spurs better off without Harry Kane.
All right, moving on to the Eswatini Observer. Stories making headlines. Likwane liquidation, 7 pension funds join case. Say FSRA not in position to point an accusing finger. Also argue that they have invested over 20 million malangeni with Likwane. Kuletinye letihamba embili, Natcom's death, PSU's call for humanity. Kanti kuletinye go back to Tinkundla origins, kusho Matendele.
Kanzi-ke kutemidlalo ku-Eswatini Observer, player registration deadline has been extended. We see le story lesiphinze-ke senda headline njengoba sendile kulelo linye liphephandaba kanti lenye ithi ex-Wanderers South African boss has passed away. Former Manzini Wanderers South African director Cedric Matata is no more. More on that story is found there. Good times. Eswatini Observer, I beg your pardon. We know what to do, kusho Birds. Capital City side Mbabane Swallows general manager Sandile Beyond 2000 Zwane says they are not reading too much into the team's recent fall from grace, declaring that they are not cry babies and they will soon turn the corner. Bafana Sihlangu match at FNB is another leading headline.
All right, let's go Eswatini Daily News this Tuesday. News making headlines. Ex-Wanderers boss Matata shoots wife and himself. According to sources based in Mpumalanga, the South African businessman is said to have shot his wife and then turned the gun on himself in the early hours of Saturday morning. Later in Tamba Mbili, 60,000 Malangeni bribe for MPs' votes, just speculation. Later Tamba Mbili, government warns public of free causes scam.
Lion of Judah rolled out of Sihlangu clash. South Africa's Bafana top striker Percy Tau has been withdrawn from the squad to face Sihlangu Samnigati at FNB Stadium on Friday in an international friendly match to lead Eswatini Daily News Sport. Is that headline. Ngutse nominated for PLE executive. That one is found on page 23 to get the full story. On the international front, Manchester City have come back from worse. Page 20, you get the full story. Eswatini Daily News leading headlines this morning. Cishe nje onke ama-headlines ethu lo mhla ekuseni ngwane lo muhle siphahlule emakethe sibuye sathenza abantu lapha ekhaya.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalo mgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letentiya ngaleso sikhatsi tindzaba letide emagama lacosheme letitsembekile letitsintsa tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulo msakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letiqhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Uyezwana uthokandaba emagumbamane omhlaba ngemandla sibaya esigodlweni elitsitsini mhla tingemashumi lamabili nakutsatfu Impala. Usho njalo ke Mswazi omnyama kulaba luthuli. Ulodunganzaba wasembelebeleni. Ulodunganzaba wasemambondweni. Uduma phasi bakuzwe ngezingcingo msakandaba. Bakuzwa ngezingcingo bayakubalekela. Bayethe. Wena waphakathi.
Asiphindze silimukele nathi itindzaba. Live leSwatini lakha umgomo oqinisekisa ukuthi ibuthi lobutfolakala emishinini yetebuchwephesha abugcini bunyukubeta imvelo kanye nesive. Mabhalane lomkhulu kulelitiko khangeziwe mabuza ukuthi kwakha lomgomo kutawusita live ukuthi likhone nekuthi sebenta kangcono tindzaba tekulahlwa kwayo emishina lenebuthi.
LeSwatini lesekelwe inhlangano lebuke kuvikela kwanza kwebuthi lobuphuma emishinini ikakhulu yetebuchwephesha leyatiwa ngele International Atomic Energy Agency. Akhuluma kulomhlangano lobanjelwe eMafini Lodge eZulwini. Mabhalane lomkhulu etiko letemvelo khangeziwe mabuza uthi live nalo litibophelele ekutheni lobuthi bungagcini sebunyukubeta imvelo kanye nesive.
Sibambisana njani emsebentini walobuthi lokutholakala emishinini lesiyisebenzisako noma etincwaningeni tethu lesitisebenzisako ngekwehlukana kwethu emisebentini kuba ke nebuthi lobuthite lokukhanza ukuthi bube senasibusebenzisa sisebenzisa lento lenhle lengemishini bese thina abantu kuyasilimata silitiko ke thine letekuvakasha netemvelo siniketwe lo msebenzi ukuthi kube ngithi labahlanganisako bahlanganise bonke lababukele inhlangothi ukuthi sikusebenza kanjani siwakha kanjani umthetho sibambisana kanjani.
We talk about prevention, detection, response.
Lohola libandla le-International Atomic Energy Agency ASAL uthi bahlose ukuqinisekisa kwekuthi tonke tinhlangothi letithinzekako etindzabeni tebuthi lobungatfolakala emishinini tati kabandi ngaloko lokubhekeke kuto. Letinye tindzaba letitawukhulunyiswa kulomhlangano wemalanga lamane kubuka ukuthi tintfo letinalo buthi tiphatfwa njani tisahanjiswa kuleli tigcinwa kanjani kanye nekuthi uma setisetshenzisiwe tilahlwa kanjani. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Nelson Ngamandla nginavuma inkosi inzinisa eZulwini.
Kude tifundvo letimahala letiniketwa nguhulumende kubantfu labasha kanye nalabo lesebakhulile. Lokuvutwe ngumchumanisi wahulumende Alfred Nxumalo ngemuva kwetimemetelo etinkhundleni tekuchumana ngokuthi isive asifake ticelo njengoba uhulumende wakuleli asavete lithuba lelinjengaleli.
Siyanxusa kakhulu kwekuthi sive singadukiseki ikakhulu la ingoti khona lento ukuthi itarget abantu labasha lekuvele banesidingo sekuyawufunza bafuna ama-course la relevant bafuna ama-colleges la relevant. Siyakwexwayisa lokhu nebekunena akuveli kuhulumende umuntu sengangeta nje nekuthi diningi letigama letichubekayo kulamalanga nineba kangwane sekuyiwa kuDisemba sibone nalabanye sebafake tinduna leti bethi sembusweni bobabenil sebakhe ama-page abo ku-Facebook. Lawo ma-page nebekunene nawo sesatisiwe nesive siyasatisa akusiwo lasemthethweni. Entiwa abantu labafuna ukuganga ngemaswati nekuganga ngetimadlana letemaswati lengitona atidzingi kwenta tinto letimgcoka. Hulumende nebekunene natawenda timemetelo lefana leti. Uyaye efakela kulama page akahulumende. Kufuna kuvele khona, kuthi kungavela khona ke nako kungakaveli siyaye sithi lelo tiko lelenda lo msebenzi. Aliyisebenzise lemsakato lefana nangwetithombe nje lengikhuluma kuwo nyalo. Nemsakato wethu we-radio ukhuluma nesive bese ke kuyafakwa le kulama page social networks. Sive sesivile ngeredio nangemsakato wetithombe ukuthi kuta indvo lenje.
Lisekela lemphathi wamaphoyisa kuleli Lydia Dlamini lithi umphathi wamaphoyisa longasekho emhlabeni William Dlamini ume esifungweni sakhe sephoyisa kwade kwaba lusuku lwakhe lokugcina emhlabeni. Ukusho lokhu emthandazweni lebobanjwe lekolishi lemaphoyisa kuMathapha lebekuthandazelwa lesimo lesivelile emaphoyisa. Kulonkonzo emaphoyisa bese atiswa ngalokusemthethweni ngekwendlula emhlabeni kwaloyo bekangumphathi wabo.
Lo mthandazo bokazi ungenele amaphoyisa lebeka savele tifunzeni totini entakuleli.
He was a true son of the soil. He was a gallant soldier.
Lisekale mphathi wamaphoyisa kuleli lidi yadlamini uchaza umphathi wamaphoyisa longasekho emhlabeni njengemuntu bekathe amnene athembekile asebenza ngekutikhandla futhi abuye abe nebuholi lobuhlakaniphile. Dlamini uthi umufi ushiya isikhala lesikhulu hayi emaphoyiseni nje kuphela kodwa eveni lonkana.
Absolutely, and popularly known, was a true patriot.
Liphoyisa leselithethe umhlala phasi Azaria Zimanzi uchaza lokho lamkhumbula ngako umufi.
Bekavamele ngikhumbula ngako kakhulu ukupita ezelethi usibasakazi. Bathini labasakazi. Hallelujah.
Umfundisi loshumayele kulomthandazo wamaphoyisa ingceke yenkosi umfundisi Maduduza Mabuza. Lokhu sathe amaphoyisa ukuthi kulesikhathi sebulukhuni abafune ubuso basimakathe kakhulu kunakucala.
There is no any insulin noma joba umuntu onemsisi kuphela emsisi kude lempilisi noma mnathisa lo kunye kuphela ngoba ulusisi silonza semphefumulo. Only the word of God can heal the soul.
Emaphoyisa atisiwe kusata kwadisa ngelisuku lokufihla lo bekathi ngomphathi wabo abese akhuthata ukuthi noma abhekene nesimo lesilikhuni kodwa akachubeka sisebenze ngekutikhandla etindzabeni kubika fortune dlanga amandla titfombe titfolakele emaphoyisini ehlangotheni letekuchumana.
Inkampani yemaposi netincingo seyisukumisela uhlelo lokuhambisa emaphasela lamancane lapho sive sesingahambisa emaphasela afika kulabanye ngesikhashana nje. Lolu hlelo lisukunyiselwe ekolishi lase-Ecot ngeMsombuluko.
Lolu hlelo lwadinga ukuthi kuhambisa emaphasela lamancane kanye sive sitawubhadala imali thide lengadulike noko kuye ngesisindo saleyo mphahla noma lelo ke phasela. Inkampani yemaposi ithi lamaphasela lamancane atawufika lawa yakhona kungakapheli isikhathi lesingaba ngama-hour ngama-24 24 hours. Lo thumela ke utawuthola umlayeto ingafika leyo mbahla la iyakhona. Lo bekamelele umphathi welibandla lelingamele tekuchumana kuleli thulani fakutse uthe lolu hlelo lutawenda kube melula kuthola emaphasela wayibonga ke inkampani ngalolu hlelo lolusha.
Siyadumisa ngoba lokho kukhombisa ukuthi inkampani yemaposi iyawalalela noma Eswatini Post uyawalalela ema-customer ukuthi athenga ini ngoba le product lena nje labayilontsha namuhla ngiyo vele ledzingekile esiveni letaba lusito ezikusendiwa umsebenzi. Siyathi ke nyalo ukuthi netikhathi te-digital nalokuba connected inqumbi vele yetinto sesidenda in the digital space. So lokhu le product nje lelonjwako itawusita kakhulu kulolu hlangothi lo.
Emaphasela noma ke tindlu letingekho emthethweni atikavumeleki ke nani kutsi dingahanjiswa atikho kulolu hlelo. Inkampani yemaposi itawudeliver ngesikhathi akukhathalekile ukuthi kusemakhaya noma ke emadolobheni. Lo ngeke awabuthe emaphasela utawuthunyelelwa umlayeto isikhathi lesingaba liviki kanti nasolo angalibusi lelo phasela lakhe utawugcineka hlawuliswa imali thide nasolo angalanzi lawo maphasela. Etindzabeni ngengiyani Msibi naSmuva Shongwe eMbabane.
Mapalane lomkhulu wetiko letempilo khanye Mabuza uthi imindeni nemimango ingadlala inzima libonakalayo ekulweni namdlavuza neqinisekisa ukuthi umdlavuza awanzi. Mabuza beyakhuluma eCooper Center ngeMsombuluko nakusukunyiswa inyanga yekuhambisa lwati ngesifo samdlavuza eBreast Cancer Awareness Month.
Asukumisa inyanga yokuhambisa lwati ngesifo samdlavuza mapalane lomkhulu etiko letempilo khanye Mabuza uthi yinkulu inzima lengadlalwa yimindeni ekuvaleni sikhala lesikhona ngalesifo kumalunga yemindeni. Mabuza uthi litiko libeka imbili indzaba yemdlavuza noma ngabe nguwuphi kungako alusekela neluhlangothi lwaka Cancer Control Unit.
Through awareness and evaluation and education for families can make a better place for all of us who need care and support.
Litiko lisukumele eTuli indzaba yamdlavuza kanti isebenta mihla le kungasiyo inyanga yempala nje kuphela. Umdlavuza wemlomo wesibeletho nguwona uhamba imbili kulandzele welibele lesiucapheleke kakhulu silutiko. Imimango ayibonakale nayo idlala inzima iqinisekise ukuthi kuba bede nekubandlululana kulabanalo mdlavuza.
Lomelele inhlangano yetemphilo kamhlaba kuleli Dr. Susan Tembo ucele bohulumende ukuthi batihambise embili tindzaba tamdlavuza welibele.
Countries are encouraged or is recommended to focus on breast cancer early detection programs.
Emave akatibukisise tindzaba tamdlavuza welibele ashumayele ukuthi bantfu abatihlole kusesenesikhatsi kuti nakakhona lo mdlavuza ashesha alapheke angakahambi lici.
Benhlangano lelwa nemdlavuza welibele nesibeletho batsi kulenyanga batawube bahambisa lwati emimangweni emasontweni bahlola-ke naso sive wona-ke umdlavuza. Etindzabeni tanamuhla ngingugiyane Msibili naSmuva Shongwe siseKhupha Center eMbabane.
Litiko letinkhundla selivalelise loyo beka indvuna yalelitiko David Ncamphalala. Tisebentita lelitiko titsi kunengi letikfundzile kuye lokufaka ekhatsi bucotfo kule minyaka lesihlanu leyengcili asebaphethe. Umsebenti kumvalelisa ubanjelwe ehhotela The George Kamanzini ngeMsombuluko.
Tisebenti telitiko letinkhundla tivalelise loyo beka indvuna yetinkhundla David Ncamphalala. Tikhulumi kulo msebenti titsi Ncamphalala bekawubeka embili umsebenti ngaso sonke isikhatsi angesabike nekutsatsa tincumo letilukhuni noma simo besishubile. Mabhalane lomkhulu etiko letinkhundla noNhlanhla Dlamini utsi utakukhumbula kusebentana Ncamphalala.
You have not only led our team with integrity, but you have also created an environment that fosters growth, creativity, and collaboration.
Mathendele Dlamini loba indvuna yembuso naye utse Ncamphalala ukhombise kubeka embili umsebenzi ngaso sonke isikhatsi.
Ncamphalala lodume ngayo esiyibonile. Bongasho ukuthi uyinduna yembuso kepha bewati ukuthi impumelelo ilana ngabe ubambisana nebantu.
Enkulumeni yakhe-ke Ncamphalala uthe usebenzisene kahle nato tonke tisebenti telitiko wonke umuntu bekangumngani kuye kude lengcono kunalomunye emehlweni akhe.
PS nestafu sonke ngitifica ngemncane kakhulu ngitifica futhi ngijabula ngendlela lengibone ningisebenzisa ngakho kuba ngiminister wangasebenzisana nale team loyificile kuyinkinga. Kodwa la kini bo RS, PS nema-officials besisebenza ungathi sisebenta into yakethu kanti ke vele wanika umsebenzi musuthatha athi ngumsebenzi wabathatha athi lo msebenzi onike wona wakho.
Nemndeni wakaNcamphalala-ke bowuyingcenye yalo msebenzi wekumvalelisa. Etindzabeni ngingugiyane Msibili naSmuva Shongwe ehhotela The George Kamanzini.
Umphathi wetibhedlela kanye nemitfolamphilo yaseNazarini Eswatini Nazarene Health Institution Mazwi Mavuso uthi kubuyiselwa kwelisonto leRosemary Hind Chapel lelisemagcekeni esibhedlela sase-RFM kuthi sale livuleka kuthi tisebenti lilisebentise kukhonta kutawenda tigulane tiphatheke kahle. Mavuso unike sivetho lokugcina kuthi seyitawubamba incane imibiko lemibi ngalesibhedlela.
Kwetfu kumkhuhlane i-COVID-19 ngeminyaka wa-2019 ngelelisondo lisemagcekeni esibhedlela sase-RFM lelibitwa ngeRosemary Hind Chapel laphendvula ligumbi lehlola sive lomkhuhlane kutse ngemsembuluko lase liyabuyiselwa emsebentini walo longilo wekuthi tisebenti tibokhontela kabili ngelilanga lokusekuseni kanye nangesikhathi sekudla kwasemini.
Staff setfu lesikhona imihla nemalanga siyasikhumbuta ngokuthi kusita umuntu you must have compassion. Sikhuluma nabo bonke bodokotela bonesi nalaba ukuthi na usubuka line ubone staff asigulane leti 100 tiya kuleyo queue be moved by compassion usite.
Sengetulu kweminyaka lelikhulu umndeni wakaHind wefika kuleli lo mndeni ngolwasungula lesibhedlela kanye nemitholampilo. Situkulwane salomndeni Elizabeth Hind uthi bethemba ukuthi sesitophatheka kahle kakhulu sive.
Nangabe lenhlitiyo yekumdumisa uNkulunkulu nelithando laNkulunkulu liyabaleka lapha eNazarini bayabaleka kulaba labodokotela nalaba bonesi nalaba labacleaner bonke nalokushanyela ngaphandle if loluthando sohambile asisilutho so siyethemba ukuthi lokho lesi dedication le chapel siyayidedicate njalo sithi ya akuvuke umthandazo akuvuke indumiso kuNkulunkulu akuvuke loluthando laNkulunkulu.
Ibandla leMnazarini linesibhedlela sase-RFM kanye nemitholampilo lilinganiselwa kule ngetulu kwele-20 kuleli. Edinzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla mina Sikhumbuzo Dlamini sikaManzini.
Inhlangano yesiphambano lesibovu baphalale Eswatini Red Cross Society bambisene nelitiko letempilo sayiceceshe bothishela labalishumi lababuya enkundleni yakankomo yahlaba ngetifundvo letiphatselene netengcomvo. Nkosinathi Khumalo umphathi wesibhedlela sasesigombeni uthi lokhu bakwende kucinisekisa ukuthi labothishela bayakhona nekunaka kahle abantwana etikolweni kanye nasemimangweni.
Inhlangano yesiphambano lesibovu yelule esandla yafundzisa bothishela ngebumgcoka bekuphatha kahle bamfana ikakhulu kutengcondvo. Umphathi wasesigombeni iclinic Nkosinathi uchaza kabanti ngalolu hlelo.
Sesitrainer labatawukhona siyabasita ukuthi batokhona ukuthi bakhona kusita babone leto tindzaba letiphatselana nema mental health problem. Letinkinga nje lethambelana netengcondvo kungaba umthishela lomunye kungaba abantwana nasemangweni nje ngoba bahlala emangweni labothishela.
Umfundisi wetempilo Sidumo Likhele uthi litiko liyadesekela letifundvo letinjengaleti.
Ubutsisela bothishela kwathiwa asesibambane silitiko letempilo naye Red Cross sibukisana ukuthi tabatini lesingatenda ukuthi basheshe banothise nakunetimo letitsinza ingcondo.
Sebenzile Mamba lomunye wabothishela labangenelela umfundasikolo uthi sebatawukhona kubasita kangcono bafundze.
Kithi thina bothishela asimsulwa, we can do ibullying sesibabita ngalawo magama hayi wena madletshana so letifundvo tosita ukuthi si avoid noma sinciphise tintfo letingatsikabeta ingcondvo yalabantwana.
Inhlangano yakamhlaba iWorld Health Organization ithi kungabi kahle kutengcondvo kungilokunye lokunemthelela ekutheni bantfu labasha labaneminyaka lesukela ku15 kuya ku29 batibulale emhlabeni. Lo msebenzi lowendiwa ngile nhlangano uhlose kuhlangabetana netimo letifana naleti. Edinzabeni Eswatini TV kubika Nelson Dlangamandla nginavuma inkosi inzinisa ezulwini.
Azike kulesi ithanza kutitfola letiphuthumako amabhalane weParliamente Benedict Xaba uthi umsebenzi weParliamente utawuchubeka lomuhla mhla ti10 enyangeni yeNyoni kulandzela ukuthi ume ngalesihlanu evikini eliphelile. Emalunga eParliamente lahloniphekile ayatiswa ukuthi akabe seParliamente lomhla ekseni uma kugabanca insimbi 11 11:30 ekseni. Indlaba yesikhulu itawube seyincoma timphunga uma kugabanca insimbi yesibili. Emalunga eParliamente yatiswa ukuthi kubheke ukuthi yambathe emasudu noma avunule kanjalo netimenywa tabo. Simemetelo sikhokhwa ngumabhalane weParliamente Benedict Xaba. Litiko letempilo libambisene nebhela Eswatini kanye nenyuvesi yeGeorgetown bahlole emaswati langu-40,560 sifuba sengati kanye nemkhuhlane weCovid-19 kuletinyanga letiyimfica. Kuhlolwe kusukela kubantwana kuya kubantfu labadzala.
Lolu hlelo lihlose kuthola ukupopola kanye nekwelapha emaswati latfolakala nesifo sesifuba sengati kanye nemkhuhlane iCovid-19. Umphathi webhela Eswatini Khosi Dlamini uchaza kabanti ngalokubangele ukuthi basukumise lolu hlelo.
Beyikhona le gap besiyibona bekune program yaka TB tihlele liyodwana kune program yaka COVID tihlele liyodwana sisebenzisa timali ke timali temadona nakhona tiyahamba letimali sabe sesiyabona lokuthi ngalesinye isikhathi uyaye uthi ucabanga ukuthi umuntu une TB kanti cha une COVID sesiyakubhica ke kanye sesithi hayi umuntu masimbona lokuphathelene nemaphapha sesimhlele konke lesimhlola kona.
We did have a huge success in at least finding
cases of TB that would have been missed, especially in communities.
Umqondisi wenyuvesi yeGeorgetown Dr. Arnold Mafukutse uthi lo hlelo lube impumelelo lenkulu kakhulu. Uchubeka ukuthi batfole bantu labanesifo sesifuba sengati emiphakathini lebekade bangeke batholakale. Uthi babe bancane labatfolakele nemkhuhlane iCovid-19 ngesizathu sekuthi ngesikhathi asuswa lo msebenzi izinga lekujovela lo mkhuhlane belikade lisetulu kakhulu. Welihlangosi lelibuke isifo samdlavuza nokwethu uMkumane uthi kutfolakele emaswati labalelwa kulalishumi lanesifo samdlavuza wemaphaphu usulihlobo lwamdlavuza kusilo lelinakekeka kahle.
Want to say how important it is so that we don't find ourselves wasting drugs sometimes for TB just because they are presumptive for TB. Yet it's lung cancer.
Lo hlelo lokuhlola isifo samdlavuza kanye nemkhuhlane iCovid-19 lento etingundleni letiyimfica kanye nasemtholampilo lesithupha etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla inesikhumbuzo Dlamini sisembabane.
Kutemidlalo kulandzela ukuthi lamanye emacembu emidlalo webhola kuleli avete ukukhala kwawo ngekuthi akakhoni ukubhalisa kahle badlali ngesikhathi ngenxa yendlela lensha yokubhalisa abadlali leyatiwa ngeFIFA Connect. Inhlangano lengamela umdlalo webhola lapha eveni Eswatini Football Association seyingede emalanga ekubhaliswa kwabadlali njengoba bekuvaliwe ngalesihlanu evikini leliphelile. Inhlangano ithi kwekubhalisela abadlali first window period sekutawuvalwa mhla ka-13 kule nyanga lesetulu lekungilesihlanu kuleli viki lelisetulu. Satiphetha ngaleto temidlalo sitabahlole temakethe nasibuya sichubeka nehlelo sikhuluma nge-Mental Health Awareness Month.
What do you think the best part of traveling is? Is it the food, or is it the conversation, or is it the sights and sound? If you're ready to explore, we are ready to show you the best way how. We'll give you access to the best luxury getaway sites in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and of course show you vacation sites that suit your budget, because you do not need a lot of money to actually have a great time. Join us on the next adventure on Buhle Bethu, only on Eswatini TV.
Are they yours?
Ngabukela ke washa umkhukhu every Sunday at 3 p.m.
Kwelo muhle 35 minutes after 6 moyekutsolo uhleli nathi eluhlelweni. The current demand for mental services in the public health sector has been growing at a frightening pace recently, but the biggest concern kutsi ema services outweigh demand. Lo muhla ke is Mental Health Awareness Day. Kanzike lapha kangwane tindzaba tabo accessibility, affordability and stigmatization. So lokho nje cishe kuma challenges to those that are battling mental health disorders. Dr. Pepile Sukati is a clinical psychologist. She joins us now. Kusikhulumisa nje ngalolusuku lolukhulu nakangaka ekutheni. What are some of the things they want to address? What is the difference between mental health and mental illness? Nekubuka nje sicubulo sa lonyaka. Dr. Pepile, very good morning. Always lovely to have you on the show to provide your insights. Ngabe uvuka njani vele?
Okay, siphilile. It's a good morning to you too. Yes.
Dr. Suku lolukhulu ehlangothini kakhulu lelibukwe ngini. Indzaba ye mental health, indzaba le sitamako ukuthi at least neminyaka sikubeni vele sikhulumisa kanengi kakhulu indzaba taba awareness. Hlale sinibona ni spread awareness. I think singaqala nje ngokudefine i-mental health ngoba siyatloya ukuthi kune mental illness, kune mental health. Those two things ukhanza ukuthi they get lost in translation as they discuss. Yini lo mehluko?
Okay, thank you for having us, especially kulelanga la namuhla as 10 October worldwide is commemorated like mental health day. So basically it's something that has been done since 1992. So lilanga lapho sesithi khona we are creating more of awareness njoba oshito, like we are giving like more education kakhulu kubantu about my issues of mental health. So nase ku define mental health we say ukuthi impilo yengqondo. So umuntu nakaphila simbuka like in a holistical as in parts. So kukhona kuphila lokuthi uyaphila physically. Lokhu lesigijimela kakhulu etibhedlela ukuthi ngiyeva ukuthi ngiphethe sisu sengiphethe ihloko kunjani njani yabo. But in our department like we are looking at the mental part as in the mental impilo yengqondo. So nasikhuluma ngempilo yengqondo mental health ngilapho sikhuluma khona ngempilo yengqondo nje ukuthi ingqondo yakho iphilile per se. So basically we are saying ukuthi ngulapho ukuthi we are able to contribute something into the community. We are able to to deal with them daily stressors because we cannot run away from the fact that sikhona stress and we face it on a daily basis. So nasikhuluma nge-mental health we are saying ukuthi you are able to do those things you are able to work productively nasemsebentini like impilo iyaqhubeka. That is mental health. So basically ngileti leti kanjalo ukuthi you are able to cope with daily stressors, you are productive emisebentini, you are contributing something into the community. That is mental health.
Sicubulo ke salonyaka sithi everything that you have just described is a universal human right. Gosi unpackela lesicubulo siyatibona lama stressors every day, and I believe ukuthi no one is exempt. Kude longa bese sothi yena hayi mina ngeke nje mental health yami ihlale ingathikabeteki because everyone faces daily stressors, doctor, but it's how we are able to cope with them. I believe lokho bese sekwenda sekuba separate sokhanza ukuthi lo munye sowela ngale for mental illness. Let's describe when does it cut or rather cross into the side like a mental illness, and then we unpack the theme.
Oh, okay. So as I've discussed, as in defined mental health, so we are able to cope with daily stressors. But the parts this person has got a mental health condition, which you also call it a mental illness. That's where we also come in kakhulu as professionals, where we are treating. But again, as a mental health practitioners, it's not all about the treatment part. It's also from the education, the prevention and stuff. But the treatment part. So when we are saying umuntu on a mental illness, on a mental condition, we are saying this person is not able to function well. This person before. This person, even the normal daily stressors, no one is exempted from it. community yabo akasakhona ukukhopha with lawo ma stressors so sisuke sithi sekukhona lokukhona lesekuthi kabedekile engqondweni. There are so many causes or risk factors lenda umuntu ukuthi agcina sane mental illness or a mental condition. So kakhulu most of our mental conditions we say ukuthi it's a genetic thing. You find ukuthi it runs in the family. Na sikhuluma ngegenetic ukuthi you find ukuthi it runs in the family. Remember that for the mental health the illness sesingadinaki kakhulu. If you trace back you'll find ukuthi maybe in the family someone had a mental illness but we never knew about it. We say because lo muntu netilwane, lo muntu ubamloyile, lo muntu. I'm not saying ukuthi adikho letinfo leto tikhona, but if you trace back and you try to understand lo ukuthi lo muntu lama symptoms ukenda kanjani, you can align it ukuthi maybe this person had a mental illness. So we're saying ukuthi those are the risk factors, and also lenye ma risk factors we find ukuthi ngama traumatic life events. Traumatic life events we talk about for kanze ukuthi kunabo childhood abuse, sexual abuse, kuna bo neglect, lokuthi maybe bantu umfana wamshare as lo makwemfana or badala bamshare umfana sesemncane yabo tivot kanje bam neglect tivot kanjalo. So those traumatic things they can lead into mental illnesses. So bese kuba khona ke the stressful life events lesibhekana now which can then lead to a mental illness, especially depression. Nasikhuluma ngama stressful life events with the change of economy, the financial stresses that we encounter on a daily basis, like the work stresses, the violence, the gender violence and what. It can later lead into mental illness. But substance use, drug use, I know because people they say they're using my substances, they drink alcohol, but you find they then escalate to the part now is a harmful use of that substance. Logo, it can then lead to a mental illness.
The misdiagnosis, besithi umuntu unetilwane noma sithi uloyiwe and uyasho ukuthi awusho ukuthi letinto leto adikho engabe kuba likhuni kangakanani nje lokubona lo mehluko lo ukuthi lo muntu lona ke this is a mental condition now and not necessarily tilwane noma ukuthi ke uloyiwe.
Oh, okay. So when coming to Timvota, you remember, in mental health or us as professionals, this is a science-based, whatever profession. So I'm saying for Gusi, then we get to the point and say, this condition, so this person needs to meet a certain criteria. So when coming to the diagnosis and to say, a mental illness or whatever, like there's a book that is being used as in worldwide, which we call it EDSM, which is a diagnostic as in manual. So now we're using EDSM-5. So this person needs to meet the criteria. Then to be diagnosed and say, okay, now we can as in say, this person has got a mental condition.
Mental condition.
Yes.
I think that makes sense. Have you, during your diagnosis, found that this person doesn't necessarily have a mental condition? Perhaps ngiletilwane or perhaps uloyiwe. Sicela ukuthi niyombuka ngaletinye tindlela, but kule DSM yethu the criteria yethu ithi this person doesn't have a mental health condition, but ekhaya bambona ngathi kunetinkinga vele, so khanza ukuthi maybe sebaqala basola ukuthi ngente katilwane ngente kuloyiwe, could be something else. Have you had an instance where the DSM ithi lo muntu kahle lona?
Okay. I have never encountered that. Remember, like in our country, like because for mental health, you find we become the last option. Babe sebaqale somewhere. So as in seeking out for help. Then maybe then they come to the hospital.
The last resort.
So it's the last resort. So you find people who come to the hospital, they meet the diagnostic criteria well.
Okay. Now, mental health is a universal human right, and it's you want this to serve as a reminder to everyone. Actually, the planet. Raise awareness. That's one. That's the first step. My raise awareness. That should advance the understanding your mental health. Engabe nasibuka nje. You've been doing quite a lot in terms of outreach, Doctor. Sinmonile, siyanibona siyanifaka nasenizabeni. indzaba ukuthi nibe last resort kufuna ngase ishintshile. Do we see a change ngathini kuma perceptions one esive semaswati nendlela laseba responda ngayo etindzabeni tema mental conditions siyababona inbantu at least noma ngabe abasibo baningi sebabaletha abantu esibhedlela as the first option to respond to mental conditions?
Yeah, thank you for asking us that question. Yes, there is a change per se, like as iminyaka iqhubeka. Remember, like for as in before, like things about the mental health abengasito timfo lebeti kunyunyiswa kakhulu because of the issues of misconceptions and stuff. People timfo double stigma and about discrimination.
Yes.
But there is a change, like njengoba kukhanya ukuthi siyababona abantu who come through to the hospital. So even the nombolo the bantu like iyakhula laba lebeta especially but othola sito. Yes, there is a change because people that are coming in who are kusase last resort per se about they coming in. I think kuya kusitile okuyasita loku to create awareness because leti etinzawo now fika ukhuluma khona abanye bayasho ukuthi yathi sine besingadi about this, now we know.
Yes.
So the more we do awareness, the more we talk about mental health issues, we are trying to also break the stigma and discrimination because bantu bakhona ukuthi basheshe basukume baye emtholampilo and nakhona asisho ukuthi come straight to the psychiatric hospital yabo. Now we are saying ukuthi hamba uye emtholampilo lodvudane nawo we lapho utokhona nakhona ukuthola isito because we've been having this program where we go train khona nurses on the mental health desk guide from the different facilities lapho ukuthi nabo they can even as now they can address mental health issues ku level labakuyo. But that's when they can refer to the psychiatric hospital. Yes.
We do see a lot of clinical psychologists graduating, and we are happy that education is equal capacity there. But there's a concern, is the industry ready to accommodate all of them? Because there's also this other big concern, the demand. So if we go out where the services, our capacity in terms of accessibility, because there's accessibility, there's affordability, and then the stigmatization as one of the key challenges. But as a accessibility, accessibility
okay, accessibility when coming to my mental health as in services is we say is accessible. Coming from the psychiatric hospital, where we are saying what some services are they are free. So pay hulmende was sendela wonde la service maswat because some services are free. So it's accessible, so people can call them. Okay. Then going back to what you mentioned before, we still have a problem when coming to clinical psychologists in the country.
Okay.
Because we also need to understand the profession of psychology is very broad.
Yes.
So the clinical psychologists.
Okay.
What we have in the country, we have got psychology graduates who are not clinical psychologists. Okay. They're just psychology graduates.
Specialization.
They're not like, they cannot practice. They're not practitioners.
Okay.
They just have the background of a psychology.
Okay.
Yes, they cannot practice per se. We still have that challenge. We still have a few clinical psychologists in the country, but most of them they are in private sector. But accessibility, they're accessible now. If you can afford a private sector, even the psychiatric hospital, which is there, which is the services are also accessible there. As I've said, they are free of charge.
Okay, let's talk about the free ones because if we study the population and we're talking about really addressing this urgent problem, you're saying our accessibility is there and it's free. That's the public health sector.
Yes.
Correct. Let's talk about our capacity then, because I believe the concern our demand is now outweighing our services. The number is surging, it's growing, it's frightening, Doctor. You see it every day, at least you deal with it every day. How is our capacity, accessibility? Are we really able to respond to the demand that is here on the ground?
Yeah, okay. Yes, we are responding, even though we, as you say, the capacity, like, very, like you say, we still have a shortage, especially when coming to a clinical psychologist. But coming to the treatment of mental health,
yes.
Mental health, as in mental health conditions, treatment here, we have got as in different role when coming to it. I'll make an example nje esibhedlela safe. We've got psychiatric nurses. They play a role when coming to treatment yakhona. We've got medical doctors who are in the facility. They play a role. We've got the psychiatrist. We've got occupational therapist. We've got the psychologist. Then we've got social workers. So all these people, they come in and play a role. So you find a patient when coming into the treatment of the mental health condition, I born one professional per se. So you can find who are thin on the ground per se, but that patient won't be seen as in by one professional. So you'll find what's different as in professionals will be treating this one patient at the same time. So as much as like we still have a shortage when coming to nama professionals per se, but the accessibility and also saying bantu bagcina batholile sido.
So your appeal, from what I'm picking up, even though you haven't said it directly, Pepile, is that your appeal would see Emma funds like clinical psychology. I think could that sit along increase our capacity. Increase the capacity. The last concern, accessibility, affordability, and stigmatization. You've spoken about stigmatization, but do you see improvement from at least the outreach programs and the awareness? Are people changing really their attitudes?
Yeah, they are. As in in a day, exchange. But there is a gradual improvement when coming to stigma and discrimination. Like before, like people, especially a psychiatric. But now the numbers are growing. People are coming in to seek help. Meaning the issue of stigma, like when coming to mental health, as I've said, one of the things that I've contributed to it is for us mental health practitioners. We have created the awareness when coming to it. About about depression, suicide, any other conditions, and even the childhood disorders, autism, ADHD. They now know like they need to go to the hospital and try and get help. So basically, I wouldn't say the issue is stigma and discrimination. It's something which is a work in progress. We'll eventually get there.
Dr. Pepile Sugate, our clinical psychologist, is always willing to come here and provide my insights at mental health. Thank you so much. We hope we believe you'll be commemorating the day in a special way.
Do you remember the spinning thing? This is us. This picture represents what we did. We were there when coronavirus wreaked havoc in our population. Together with other stakeholders, we formed the first line, controlling the spread of the unknown and unseen enemy of the people. Anxious ourselves, we collected dead bodies countrywide. At the time when no one wanted to come near dead bodies of loved ones, we did care for our fellow citizens. Thank you, the people of Eswatini and teams of first responders.
Mizuzu lesithupha kubumbana insimbi yesikhombisa kulesikhathanyalo sitawutfola traffic update from Constable Ntombenhle Fakutse Mtolo. Sibonge kusijoyina lo mhla ekuseni elihlelweni. Ngabe simo sime kanjani emigwaqweni?
Ngikuvusele Ncumalo, ngivusele naye umbukeli weKusile Breakfast Show. Imigwaqo elivela kaNgwane sesihlolile nakulolu suku lanamuhla. Imigwaqo leminengi iyahambeka, kepha etindzaweni letiphakeme siyanaka nje ikakhulukazi na ukhuphukela khona kubomankayane lapha komtimane inkungu ikhansa phasi kanti-ke nakuletinye nje tindzawo bonkoyoyo nakhona kuleto tindzawo nje letiphakeme inkungu yiningi kakhulu nje bashayeli basayisebenzisa imigwaco abende isiqiniseko lokuthi la kunetinkungu khona bayawakhanyisa emalambu lamakhulu baphindze balehlise litubane kuze kuthi bagweme ukuthi bagcine bangene khona ekhathi etingotini. Emadolobha elive laKangwane siwahlolile nawo sibane temgwaco siyasebenta kuwo onke lamadolobha nayo imigwaco lengenela kuwo lamadolobha iyahambeka kude lokungakanani lokuthi Khinyabeto ngaphandle nje kwekuthi kulamanye amadolobha kwakhiwa yona imigwaco lokufaka ekhathi idolobha lelikhulu laseMbabane la khona sitaladi leSingisozisa Road lesuka khona ekhathi edolobheni siyawufika khona kuManzana lapha eceleni kwesikolo sase-Central umgwaco lapho uyalungiswa kulandzela kwekuthi usilimalele. Umgwaco ke lapho uvuliwe kwesikhashana lokwenta kwekuthi imotolo lapho siphambane kanike nyalo ekseni imotolo letingena khona ekhathi edolobheni tisebenzisa leyo mgwaco dinengi kakhulu. Siyakhuthaza nje bashayeli noma ke labo labasebenzisa leyo mgwaco kwekuthi abasebenzise leminye imigwaco lengena khona ekhathi edolobheni kuze kuthi bangakhanzise babambeleleka lapha eceleni kwase-Central esikolweni. Umgwaco lomkhulu osuka khona ehekeni laseNgwenya uye kaManzini lofaka ekhathi naye eMalagwane uyahambeka kude lokungakanani lokuthi Khinyabeto khona lapho ekhathi edolobheni kuMathapha linani lebantu labahamba ngetinyawo labaya emafemini linengi kakhulu ukhanza bahamba ngesekudla nangasencele bayisebenzisa totimbili letigaba tekuhamba sithi nje bashayeli basasebenzisa leyo mgwaco abende isiqiniseko kwekuthi litubane lebahamba ngalo nyalo ekseni bayaligada kuze kwekuthi labo labahamba ngetinyawo nabangena khona emgwacweni basheshe bakhone kwekuthi bagweme kubashayisa nje asibambisaneni ngakulolo hlangothi. Siyanaka-ke nyalo ekseni nangetithuba nje tasebusuku ngekubuka tona tingoti letendekako khona emigwacweni kwekuthi bafuyi imfuyo yabo bayayiyekela emigwacweni yelive laKangwane. Umgwaco nje losuka khona eMadlangamphisi uye eSihoye lo mgwaco loyo siyanaka unetinkomo letinengi kakhulu nyalo ekseni nje bashayeli abaqaphelisise khona lapho basasebenzisa leyo mgwaco kwatise phela kwekuthi nabo bayaphuthuma sithi nje abakugweme kuhamba ngelitubane lelisetulu la khona babona kwekuthi kunelivundu noma kunelifona lelingahle ukhanzise libafaka khona ekhathi engotini ngale kwaloko Mnguni naye umbukeli imigwaco yelive laKangwane iyahambeka ngaphandle nje kwalesi senkishito tisikabeto kungaba kufisela yena umbukeli usuku loluhle nalophephile basasebenzisa yona imigwaco yelive laKangwane.
Sibonga kakhulu Mdolo leyo update lo sipha yona sethembe ukuthi labo labachuba imotolo batawudicaphela totsikabeto lo soti balila sibahlole imakethe bonkosi sitabuya sithathe tindzaba tesingisi.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Welcome back to the program. We will start by looking at our English news. We start with this urgent statement from Clerk to Parliament Benedict Xaba, who announces that Parliament business continues today, the 10th of October, as it was suspended last week Friday. Honourable members of Parliament are requested to be in Parliament this morning at 11:30 a.m. for a briefing. The nominations of senators will then be at 2:30 p.m. and the members of parliament are then requested to be in the House of Assembly chamber at 11:30 a.m. for a briefing about the proceedings for the day. Dress code: honorable members must be in formal business attire or traditional regalia imvunulo. Their guests must also be dressed in formal or in traditional attire. Statement by Benedict Klaba, Clerk to Parliament. The Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, with the support of the International Atomic Energy Agency, is finalizing the country's integrated nuclear security sustainability plan. Speaking at Emafini Lodge during the Principal Secretary Kangezwe Mabuza says the plan will enable the ministry to apply a systematic structure as well as a comprehensive approach to strengthening Eswatini's nuclear securities regime.
The plan, according to the Principal Secretary, will help the country give priority to nuclear security needs.
I assure you that my ministry has prioritized the country's nuclear safety and security program and is dedicated in working with all stakeholders in discharging our respective mandates. I'm therefore convinced that our collective efforts will, one, ensure that we leverage on the assistance and support from IAEA for the provision of nuclear security assistance. Two, enable us apply a systematic, structured, and comprehensive approach to strengthening our nuclear security regime. And lastly, enable us as a country identify, consolidate, and prioritize all nuclear security needs in an integrated document.
Head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, ASEL, says her mission is targeting all relevant stakeholders with current and future roles and responsibilities for nuclear security in the country.
We talk about prevention, detection, and response. One of the prevention elements is education and training. We have specific assistance on training needs analysis, human resource development for specifically in nuclear security field.
The 4-day meeting will also tackle physical protection regime for nuclear and other radioactive material in use, storage and transport in Eswatini, amongst other topics. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Langamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Ezulwini.
Government is not offering any free courses with certification from any university at the moment. This has been said by government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo when addressing advertisements currently running on social media, stating that government is offering such programs.
Government have not advertised or announced any free courses or availabilities of scholarship to assist Emaswati who wants to pursue their academic education. What is happening here, these are scams, these are people who want to steal money, and they are using the fact that young people are vulnerable because they are the ones that are intending to further their education, and are taking advantage of that. As government would want to take this opportunity to ask CIVE to desist from applying from those requests, neither send any money to those people. They want to steal your money. On another level, we have also witnessed an escalation of new Facebook pages by former cabinet ministers. This is not true. There is no cabinet minister that have created a Facebook account. These are also people who want to deceive the nation, wants to pickpocket the nation, and wants to create a confusion around the activities of former cabinet ministers in the country. Having said that, we would urge Emaswati to take notice that before government posts any message to the social media platforms, we usually make a communication in a conventional medium of communication like TV, as I'm doing right now, and on radio, before we post those adverts on social media. So anything that just all of a sudden confront your eyes on social media purporting to be coming from government, you must begin to be suspicious immediately and desist engaging with those kind of activities. They are not genuine.
Royal Eswatini Police Services Senior Deputy National Commissioner Lydia Dlamini says deceased Police Services National Commissioner William Dlamini stood by his oath of office until the end. She was speaking during a prayer which was held at the Matsapa Police Academy. The police were also officially informed about the passing of NATCOM William Dlamini.
The prayer is attended by the Royal Eswatini Police Services members from the 4 regions of the country. Senior Deputy National Commissioner Lydia Dlamini says the deceased Police National Commissioner William Dlamini was a loyal servant of the country.
He was a true son of the soil. He was a gallant soldier, a man of unparalleled integrity, of high intellect, a man of humility, who was dedicated and committed to the call of duty. WW, as he was affectionately and popularly known, was a true patriot.
A retired police officer, Azarian Zimanze, says there were no dull moments when Dlamini was around. He adds that before he was appointed to executive positions, the deceased will refer to his superiors as Bathakati.
There is no any insulin, no
Preaching during the prayer service, Apostle Matutuza Mabuza of Hosanna Outreach Ministry urges police officers to draw closer to the Almighty Lord during this hard time. He adds that the Lord is the only person that can heal the officers. The police officers were informed that they will be made aware of funeral arrangement and also encouraged to continue working hard despite what has just happened. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, visual source from the Royal Eswatini Police Services Communications Department.
The Eswatini Posts and Telecommunications has launched a new product named the Small Packets Delivery Service. Through this product, customers will send and receive small packets between post offices. The product was launched on Monday at Ecot in Mbabane.
The Eswatini Post and Telecommunications has launched the Small Packets Delivery Service, where customers can send and receive small packets between the different post offices. This is meant to close the gap between the retailer and the customer. EPTC promises to deliver the small parcels within 24 hours wherever, regardless whether it's urban or rural areas in the country. Tulani Fagutse from the Eswatini Communications Commission represented the CEO.
Today, more than 5 million dedicated postal employees globally are entrusted with the delivery of a wide range of essential services and personal items, including messages, gifts, goods, money, and medicines. This trust has been cultivated through an unwavering commitment to safety and security. Postal services have tirelessly worked to enhance road safety, providing comprehensive training programs for delivery drivers and implementing stringent measures to safeguard the integrity of the supply chain by preventing the transportation of prohibited and dangerous goods.
Customers will receive SMS notifications once parcels are delivered. Prohibited items will not be allowed. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kiani Msibi with Smova Shongwe, Mbabane.
The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Kanya Mabuza, says families and communities can contribute in closing the cancer gap and be champions of cancer. Mabuza was speaking during the launch of the Cancer Awareness Month at Cooper Center on Monday.
Speaking when launching the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Kanya Mabuza, says families can foster an inclusive environment and play a role in doing away with misconceptions that are there towards cancer.
Through awareness and evaluation and education for families can make a better place for all of us who need care and support. Understanding and acquiring knowledge on the health condition of the sick relatives, treatment options that are available, and the importance of preventive care empowers families to actively participate in the healthcare discussions. It's no doubt that without families, there is no way we can survive or conquer this scourge.
The World Health Organization representative in Eswatini, Dr. Susan Tembo, encourages the Eswatini government to prioritize cancer and educate on the importance of early detection.
Countries are encouraged or is recommended to focus on breast cancer early detection programs so that at least 60% of the breast cancers are diagnosed and treated as early stage disease. The second focus is diagnosing breast cancer within 60 days of initial presentation, which can improve breast cancer outcomes.
The Eswatini Breast and Cervical Cancer Network will have activities lined up for the rest of this month and throughout the year, including visiting churches, communities, as well as providing screening to members of the public. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kiani Msibu. It's Mova Shongwe at the Cooper Center in Babane.
The Ministry of Tinkhundla bid farewell to its former Minister David Nkampalala in an event that was held at the George Hotel on Monday. Staff from the ministry described him as a great leader who was also very influential.
The staff of the Ministry of Tinkhundla bid farewell to their former Minister David Nkampalala, whose term has elapsed in office. Speakers during his farewell described him as a great leader who was not afraid to take difficult decisions and was a principled man. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Tinkhundla, Nonhlanhla Dlamini, says this is a bittersweet farewell because Nkampalala was an honest man who would put work first above everything.
You have not only led our team with integrity, but you have also created an environment that fosters growth, creativity, and collaboration.
Matendele Dlamini, who was once a minister, says staff of the ministry had a great leader in Nkampalala.
I can talk all day about Nkampalala. He played a vital role in educating the public about the system of Tinkhundla and ensuring that everyone understands the system.
Delivering his speech, Nkampalala says his staff visited all the 59 constituencies, even during tough times, especially during the peak of the unrest, where he ensured that he pushes the mandate of the ministry.
I will miss working with everyone. Despite them, the ministry will have been meaningless. Over the past 5 years, me and my team, I made it a point that we give it all and deliver as per the mandate. There were times where I had to be brave and felt that by taking some decisions, I was skating on thin ice.
The Nkampalala family was also part of the farewell celebration. Reporting, I am Kiani Msibi with Smova Shongwe at the George in Manzini.
Eswatini Nazarene Health Institution Mazwi Malaza says the rededication of the Rosemary Hinn Chapel and service at Raleigh Fitkin Memorial will have a positive impact as patients will be treated fairly as staff will now be able to hold sermons.
During COVID-19 outbreak in the year 2019, the Rosemary Hinn Chapel was converted to a COVID-19 testing center. On Monday, the chapel was rededicated to its original purpose, which means staff will now be able to pray in the morning and during lunchtime. Eswatini Nazarene Health Institution Chief Executive Officer Mazwi Mavuso elaborates on how the development will have a positive outcome on the hospital on a daily basis.
We're expecting it to reboost the morale of staff because we are an institution that is founded on Christian values.
The Hinn family came in the country over 100 years ago. The family is beyond the establishment of the Eswatini Nazarene Health Institution. Speaking on behalf of the Hinn family is Elizabeth Hinn.
Over a long time, the medical care here at Nazarene has become just business and very sad. So we are very glad that now the chapel has been returned back to a place of prayer, place of praise, a place to hear the word of God, to know the word of God, but mostly to vegetate or to grow the love of God in our hearts.
Eswatini Nazarene Health Institution owns 20 clinics in the RFM Hospital in Manzini. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla with Isikhumbuzo Dlamini Manzini.
The Eswatini Red Cross Society, in collaboration with government, has trained 11 teachers from Komiahlaba constituency on mental health. Ngosinati Kumalo, head nurse at Sikombeni Clinic, which is a Red Cross clinic, said this is meant to ensure that the teachers will be able to better take care of pupils in schools as well as children in their areas.
Sesitrainer labatawukhona siyabasita ukuthi batokhona ukuthi bakhona kusita babone leto tindzaba letiphatselana nema mental health problem.
The head nurse at Sikombeni Clinic says having mentally equipped teachers is important as it will lead to a healthy society. He continues to say this is a program which is meant not only to benefit the teachers and their learners, but also their communities.
Botsisela bothishela kwathiwa asesibambane silitiko letempilo naye Red Cross siboksana ukuthi
A health officer from the Ministry of Health, Situmo Lukele, says such initiatives are important as they play a big role in ensuring efficient education.
We can do bullying.
Sebenzile Mamba, a teacher at Mhlatlo High School, says they will impart the knowledge they have learned to their learners. She continues to say they are now aware that the language they use when talking to learners should be one that will not leave them with negative thoughts or kill their esteem. According to the World Health Organization, young people of ages 15 to 29 around the world commit suicide due to mental health issues. Such programs are meant to counter such occurrences. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Langamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Ezulwini.
The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with Baylor, Eswatini and Georgetown University, has screened 40,560 Emaswati for tuberculosis and COVID-19 in the past 9 months. The people that were screened includes children as well as elderly people.
The project hopes to find, test as well as treat tuberculosis and COVID-19 patients. Baylor Eswatini Chief Executive Officer Kosi Dlamini elaborates on what necessitated the project.
We have in the past misclassified clients in terms of diagnosis. One client would be diagnosed with TB yet they had COVID, and the other would be diagnosed with COVID yet they have TB. So we saw that it is important that we integrate these two diseases and we screen.
Georgetown University Technical Director Dr. Arnold Mafukutse says the project is a huge success.
We did have a huge success in at least finding cases of TB that would have been missed, especially in communities, but we did not have a lot of success in finding COVID-19 just because of what was happening with COVID-19 in the country.
Nogwethu Mkumane from the Cancer Control Unit says 10 people were found to have lung cancer.
I want to say how important it is so that we don't find ourselves wasting drugs sometimes for TB just because they are presumptive for TB, yet it's lung cancer.
The tuberculosis and COVID-19 project was done in 9 constituencies and 6 health facilities. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, with Sikumbuzo Dlamini Mpabane.
And for the next 12 minutes, let's take a look at international news. Gaza residents cleared debris Monday as they counted the cost of a night of unrelenting Israeli strikes on the enclave in retaliation for the surprise attack by Hamas fighters on Israel. The IDF says its forces have so far hit more than 800 targets in Gaza.
What would have once been a bustling street in Gaza is now a grey, burnt landscape. This road has been punctured by a gaping crater, the result of one of many Israeli strikes that have hit the enclave. These Gazans rush to clear away the debris, but with nothing to rely on but their bare hands, it's a slow process. Others are evacuating people from buildings on the verge of collapse.
Without warning, they hit us without any warning. It was an F-16 plane, there was no warning, nothing. And look for yourself, you can see the destruction.
Dozens of rockets fell on people while they were sleeping. There were no alarms or anything like that, so we started running through the streets. We weren't prepared because we were in our beds.
The Gaza Strip was pummeled with strikes by the Israeli army throughout the night. This is the reality of a vow of mighty vengeance from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after Hamas's surprise attack on Saturday. The military says the goal is to annihilate positions held by Hamas militants. Over 800 targets have been hit.
Our job is to make sure that at the end of this war, Hamas will no longer have any military capabilities to threaten Israeli civilians with. And in addition to that, we are also to make sure that Hamas will not be able to govern the Gaza Strip.
Many buildings, homes burnt to the ground. Hundreds are dead, among them many civilians. A situation condemned by the Palestinian Authority based in the West Bank.
The scenes of devastation inflicted on Palestinian civilians in the Gaza Strip are harrowing. As an occupying power, Israel has no right or justification to target the defenseless civilian population of Gaza or elsewhere in Palestine.
According to Israeli forces, 100,000 army reservists are gathered in the south. The world is watching, waiting to see whether Israel will launch a ground attack on the Gaza Strip now that Hamas and the Islamic Jihad group claim to be holding hostages there.
Dozens of bodies have been found at the site of an outdoor music festival in Israeli community near Gaza. That's according to Israeli media, after it was attacked by Hamas fighters as part of their unprecedented incursion into Israel on Saturday. Images on social media showed young people attempting to flee the festival by foot or in cars as the militants attacked. Amid reports, some had been taken hostage.
In an amateur video, hundreds of terrified young people flee for their lives from Hamas militants. Sometime earlier, they'd been dancing at a desert rave party when, without warning, fighters descended from the sky. Others stormed in by car and began firing at revelers. Thousands of young people had been attending the festival near Kibbutz Reim, not far from the Gaza Strip.
When the rockets started, there were red alerts, but no one noticed because the music was so loud. And it's very difficult to evacuate 2,000-3,000 people from a party. We had nowhere to run.
Panic-stricken, some fled on foot, others in cars, as militants began to surround them.
Suddenly, we didn't see them coming. They started shooting in all directions. I just had time to grab my car keys and to start the car to escape the gunshots.
And I was lying in the floor. It was the second hidden that I find. And they were just all around me. And they were going 3 by 3 and shooting. All the time they got more weapons from this car. They were in the area for 3 hours.
Some festival goers are reported to have been taken as hostages. This video on social media shows a young Israeli woman being driven away by fighters whilst her partner is marched away. The mother of a 22-year-old German-Israeli girl made this appeal after a disturbing video of her daughter emerged online.
I could clearly see my daughter, unconscious in the back of the truck with Palestinians driving around the Gaza Strip. I am asking for help, for any news or information.
While some of the survivors have now been reunited with their families, Israeli media reports that emergency workers found dozens of bodies at the location of the rave.
Israel has announced a complete siege of Gaza, meaning it will cut off food, water and electricity. The death toll in both Israel and Gaza is climbing as fighting continues for a third day.
Palestinian health officials said several dozen Palestinians, including women and children, were killed in an Israeli airstrike on the Jabalia refugee camp Monday in Gaza. The health officials said more than 500 people had been killed and 120,000 had fled their homes to schools and other areas of Gaza.
More than 4 homes in the Al-Trans area in Jabalia were destroyed without warning. More than 50 or 60 martyrs, a lot of casualties, unbelievable devastation. Oh my God, they are pulling out people now. Oh my God.
In Israel, the country remains in shock over the largest death toll in 50 years. The bodies of more than 260 young music festival goers were discovered Sunday. Hamas gunmen kidnapped more than 130 Israelis, many from the festival, and took them to Gaza. One of those missing is 21-year-old Adi Maisel. Her mother, Ahuva Maisel, spoke to journalists Monday.
It was our last call in which we heard a lot of noises and shootings and bombing and chaos, total chaos. And that was our last call with Adi. And since then, we have no exact, accurate position of her, where she is, in what condition she is. We don't know if she's alive or not. We don't know if she's somewhere bleeding. We don't know if someone abducted her, and we're just helpless.
Israel says it has now taken over all 22 communities where hundreds of Hamas gunmen had infiltrated and killed civilians. Israel is now on the offensive, and officials have vowed to make sure Hamas no longer has a military capability. Analysts say Israel will have to work hard to regain its deterrence.
The image of weakness that Israel now suffers under because of the catastrophe of the last 48 hours is something that it cannot come out of the war from. If it does, it will affect both peace and war in the future. Those in the region who want to make peace with Israel fully understand what Israel has to do here. It has to essentially achieve a strategic victory on a level that erases and overpowers, transcends, so to speak, the strategic defeat.
Israel has called up hundreds of thousands of reservists, and many expect a ground invasion of Gaza in the coming days. Israeli officials have told the public to prepare for a long confrontation of at least several weeks.
Israel's intelligence services are considered one of the best in the business and masters of electronic surveillance. But with Hamas's attack on the country on Saturday requiring massive planning as well as coordination comprising ground, naval and air operations, the lack of forewarning will be seen as a serious intelligence failure.
The attack required planning and coordination, a massive ground, naval, and air operation. It was a clear failure of Israeli intelligence that was in the dark about battle plans that must have taken months to prepare. Yet their agents are considered among the best in the business, masters of electronic surveillance. But such modern forms of spyware aren't enough, this expert says.
Israeli intelligence is very competent, but it depends more and more on electronic systems and optics, etc. And in Gaza, there should have been informants, human intelligence inside the Hamas networks.
And yet, the Israeli army has units dedicated to infiltration, spies, but also commandos that are capable, like on these images, of entering a West Bank hospital and getting their hands on a high-ranking Hamas officer thanks to intelligence information. This former U.S. spy spent 26 years at the CIA and operated in Gaza. Israel has numerous sources, he says, but they may have played a double game.
One question that a lot of us have is, penetrating Hamas, were they all actually double agents? Did Hamas actually send people to tell Israel what Israel wanted to hear? So I think very often with these intelligence failures, we end up collectively almost underestimating the adversary, and perhaps this is what happened here.
Experts are also puzzled by Egypt's failure, despite having spies in Gaza that are generally well informed. Israel had placed its intelligence services at the heart of its worldwide film and series industry. On Saturday, in just a few hours, that myth went up in smoke.
Iran has rejected unfounded allegations that it had a role in the massive assault on Israel by the Palestinian Islamist group Hamas. It came after the Wall Street Journal reported that Iranian security officials helped plan Hamas's Saturday surprise attack.
By land and by sea, these Hamas fighters managed to strike. A series of attacks that the Israeli Defense Forces call the worst day in Israel's history. But how did the Islamist group manage to organize and to finance such a massive operation? For many Israelis, it's Iran that's largely to blame.
This heinous act
which began in the middle of the Sabbath on a Jewish holy day, crossing the border to carry out the attack, is an unforgivable sin. A sin that was led not only by a murderous terrorist organization, but by an evil axis whose base is in Iran.
The American paper The Wall Street Journal also believes that Tehran was behind the attacks. They cite senior members of Hamas and Hezbollah, who claim that Iranian security officials helped Hamas fighters plan, and that Iranian Revolutionary Guards gave the green light in Beirut last week. But the United States says they've seen no such evidence of Iran's involvement.
In this moment, we don't have anything that shows us that Iran was directly involved in this attack, but we do know that Iran's had a long relationship with Hamas, long support. It's one of the reasons that we have been aggressively working to counter Iran.
Iran itself denies playing a direct role, but it did confirm that it stands with Palestinians.
We emphatically stand in unflinching support of Palestine. However, we are not involved in Palestine's response as it is taken solely by Palestine itself.
Iran's support of Palestinians and of Hamas is not new. In June, for example, Hamas's political leader met with Ayatollah Khamenei. But if a direct role in the conflict with Israel is confirmed, it could inflame tensions across the region.
Nsingizini Hotspurs succeeded after they defended their Momo Cup trophy, defeating Babane Swallows on penalties. Club director Derek Shiba believes better preparations paved way to their victory. Kwelo muhle betingawo ke desinkisi asithathe simo selitulo sibahlo letmarket sitawubuya siqhubeke nehlelo.
Uyezwana uthokandaba emagumbamane omhlaba ngemandla sibaya esigodlweni elitsitsini mhlati ngemashumi lamabili nakuthathu imbala usho njalo ke mswazi omnyama kulaba luthuli ulodunganzaba wasembelebeleni ulodunganzaba wasemambondweni uduma phasi bakuzwe ngezingcingo msakandaba bakuzwa ngezingcingo bayakubalekela bayethe wena waphakathi
Asibinze sinimukele siyakuvuselana olasanza kusivulela sida ukhuluma nje kabanti ngetindzaba tabomake na make losuka enhlanganweni i-Real Women Assembly inhlangano ke lena yabomake kanye nemantfombatane lebuke nje tindzaba tabomake kanye nemantfombatane kakhulukati emalungelo abo etindzabeni tekwabiwa kwemafa kanye nemhlaba mhla ka-18 October is International Real Women's Day lilanga ke leli lapho khona bazama kwenta imitamo ukuthi ba-celebrate nje indzima ledlalwa abomake ekondleni imindeni yabo. I'm joined by Lonhlanhla Mthethwa Lonhlanhla Mthethwa lo national chairperson wayo ke i-Real Women's Assembly kukhuluma nje kabanti nje ngema challenges mhlambe labhekene nabo bomake emimangweni. I think sedibonile nje tindzaba noma ke mhlambe imibiko khanze ukuthi make sowucoshiwe ngama in-laws ekulandzele ukuthi kushone mhlambe imvotsa yakhe sifuna ukukhuluma nje naye make lapha Mthethwa kuva ukuthi babese babasita kanjani labo make lapho yini laba bafundzisa yona uma ngabe bahlangene ukuthi batokugwema leto tinkinga leto labakhanze ukuthi bese babakita sekuvusela make Mthethwa siyabonga ukuthi ube nathi namhla ekseni. I think singakanzi nje kusichazela ukuthi inhlangano i-Real Women's Assembly yini sathi ukuthi tikhona leto yetinhlangano esifundeni saka SADC sifuna kuvala ukuthi ngabe nine la Eswatini siyabona ukuthi nibuke vele emalungelo abomake kanye namantfombatana yini lenye futhi leniyende nje inhlangano.
Angivusele babukeli baka Swaziland TV kanye nawe Mthombeni sibongele lithuba siyinhlangano kuba ingcenye loluhlelo lwalomhla sibomake baka Rural Women's Assembly inhlangano yaqala nga-2009 ya launchwa noma yasukumiswa ngalokusemthethweni 2011 3 March eshiselweni enkundleni yasesandleni yase yabhaliswa ngalokusemthethweni 2013 i-Rural Women's Assembly inhlangano ke lekhona emaveni lalishumi emhlabeni kaSADC sengasho kanjalo so kuyi-network kangwane sinemalunga langetulu kwa-23,000 bomake labasemakhaya kufaka ikakhulu nebantwana bemantfombatana sengishito ukuthi semaveni lalishumi lekufaka Eswatini, iZambia, iZimbabwe, Malawi, Mauritius, Tanzania, Lesotho, Mozambique, Namibia neSouth Africa cishe onke lama province sescovered. Le nhlangano ke inhlangano lefundzisa kakhulu bomake ngangwane nje ligama lethu asisivami lokuthi siyi-Rural Women's Assembly ngoba lelo ligama lesilungu sithi thina sicandvulo sabomake ngoba make siyamfundzisa simlole engcondvweni yakhe kuze atawuthi nakahlangana netingcinamba athathe sincumo langeke kusasa asole ngazo kusho ukuthi tinhlelo lesinato bomake siyabafundzisa ikakhulu ngemalungelo abo la kumthetho sisekelo lafaka ekhathi lufaka khathi nalabantwana labamantfombatana baba netinhlelo tabo letiseceleni laba babodwana khona batokhona kukhuluma tindzaba tabo bakhululekile. Inhlangano yethu ke sengishito ukuthi ina over 23,000 members sina ma CBOs langu 90 kusho ukuthi tinhlangano letikhona emakhaya labo make khona bahlangana bonke labanye bahlangana benda umsebenzi wetandla labanye bakhathi impepho tindzabeni babuye batothengisa ngulapho ke ngileto ke tigungu labo make bakhona khona kukhulumisa tingcinamba tabo labahlangana betana nato bakanye kanye phindze njalo bakanye kanye baphume nesincumo ukuthi singayisombulula kanjani lengcinamba lesibhekene nayo siphindze futhi sibe nemahlahlandlela lesisingema organizers langu 80 la khona la emangweni thina ke sicandulo sabomake sisebenta kuto tonke tifundza talelive la Kangwane sikhona nje kaHhohho eshiselweni kaManzini naselibonjeni kulolu suku ke lesithi sitolugubha lwe International Rural Women's Day lusuku la sibuka khona imisebenzi lento wabomake ekondleni imndeni ekunakeleleni imndeni bomake nje siyemake sesimvete anetandla letiningi letinye longatiboni ukuthi tichamukapi uyamema make, uyaklina make, uyapheka make, uyalima, konke kwenziwa kumake. So lolu suku la sithi bomake khona abatibonge ngale msebenzi labendawo ngoba esikhatsini lesiningi kude lobonga make. Futhi ke siphinde sithi lo msebenzi walabo make awubhadalwa kumuntu, it's unpaid labor. Sisasho ukuthi abawubonge. Uyawuva mhlana overswayi ekudleni, hey yathi nani nifaka liswayi lube liningi mani. Kude lelo compliment yakho lokuthi yathi lokudla kumnanzi. So sengishide ukuthi inhlangano kakhulu inetinhlelo leti kufundisa abomake ngemalungelo nekulima, phindze njalo bonke bende i-lobby and advocacy nema campaigns. So kakhulu siyagcila kulete kulima ngalokuthi siyabuka nje sicubulo sethu nje salonyaka se-International Rural Women's Day sithi good food, rural women produce good food with nutritious and medicious value. Kudla kwesintu lokukhicitwa bomake ngikona kunaleti thako tonke letidingwa ngumtimba. Akufanani nalokudla namhlanje sesikudla bayibathile abafundzile i-junk food. Awukwati ukuthi kulinywe ngubani, ukulime kuphi, ukupheke njani, nini. Lokunye ukhanza ukuthi kunabo expiring date, kunabo packing date. Lokhu thine lesithi sibomake basemakhaya lima lotawu kupha umndeni wakho lokwati ukuthi kulinywe nguwe. Nenhlanyelo yakho. Utawuphinze futhi ube nelithuba lekuyigcina lenhlanyelo wena ungumake. Lekhaya phindze njalo ukhona ekukhicita ngayo kudla kwemndeni wakho. Bomake bayafuya netinkukhu. Letinkukhu lesingatiniki starter sitnika umhayo lo ugaya ebhedaneni noma usiletsheni unyenyete ngemandi naleti thako lotinika lo tinkukhu takho ngileti thako tesintu. So siphindze sisasho ukuthi sinalolu suku lwe-International Rural Women's Day. Sibukeke nalolunye lisuku lolu lofuna ngabe lugujwa mhla ka-16 October.
Ngithi nje kuhlaba nje make ngifuna singene nje kakhulu la mhlambe kuleti inkinga mhlambe bomake lababhekana nato bese sikhuluma nje ngalama trainings lenye mbe nawo mhlambe kubafundisa kubacushiswa ukuthi mangabe babhekene nalesimo lesi benda kanjani. Bengifundza nje lenye article yaseZimbabwe, I think nayo bebhalwe ngumake wakhona ku network yaseZimbabwe Rural Women's Assembly. I think lo make waveta inzaba ukuthi bekahlala nemvotsa yakhe yashona wahamba wayohlala nebatali kulandzela ukuthi bamcoshe ma-in-laws akhe kuleli khaya lakhe nemvotsa yakhe. Nakhona makafika ekhaya wadikhela indlu yakhe nje lencane wacoshwa ngubhuti wakhe nakhona. Nakathiwa ibika kuchief chief naye amcoshe angayingeni nje yakhe kwaba kabi vele nje wagcina senganamhlaba. Kubutela ukuthi ngabe vele mhlambe inkinga leti njengaleti inkinga leti ibhekana nabo bomake lapha ekhaya Eswatini kuba khona mhlambe lokho kubambisana nawo umphakathi noma boshifu.
Ngiyabonga Mthombeni. Ithine sibomake basemakhaya bayahlangana naleti inkinga bomake kakhulu, ikakhulu tindzaba tekumukwa umhlaba. Ngitona nje tiyingcinamba kakhulu netindzaba ke tekuthi umthetho sisekelo welive lethu la kaNgwane uyasho ukuthi umhlaba ungawuthola umuntu wesifazane awubali lokuthi uthethwe noma ukwathathwa unemfana lokumfana noma ude. Kodwa tingcinamba lesititholako ukuthi boshifu labaningi abavumi nemhlaba na ungakathathwa. Kahle kahle thine sisebenza nabo bandlancane lothola ukuthi ungakafiki ngale kubabe shifu ngabo lothola ukuthi bayavimba. Kodwa kulamanye ke ma communities njengabo kuBlembu sesikhonile ke khona ukuthi nasibafundzisa bakhone lokuthi bobandlancane babone lokuthi kuliciniso ngoba lena i-national document le umthetho sekele lekufune wonke umuntu awulandzele. But ke kuletinye tindzawo kusena lokuthi ungeke usuke ungaseshiselweni yokhonda elibonjeni bangakwadi. Kodwa nje la kuletinye tindzawo labantfombatana akulendzawo ayanikwa ngoba lesikubukile lokunye kunelisiko lisilahlekele singemaswati. Lisiko lekuthi nawusuka kenu ungumakoti uyakwenza wawunikwa likhuba, unikwa inhlanyelo, unikwa imbita, namhla sebanikwe emabhakede, unikwe ebhusha, unikwe inhlanyelo. lenhlanyelo awuya uyihlanyela le ekhakhakho bafike ekhakhakho bakunika isivanzi lebekuthiwa lesi sivanzi sakalamthetho kwakungilona ke lisiko lele belenda ukuthi umfati ativele apractice kahle kulima kwakhe ngaphandle kwemicabo ukuthi kufanele uyocela kubabe kufanele uyokwendani but nje lesivanzi nalaba bekade bas inheriator kwakungilabantu abakho uthole sengcenye sebakhulile sekukhona lofuna kwanzisa teacher ukuthi uhambe esivanzini senyoko kwakulula so tingcinamba siyahlangana nato kakhulu letemhlaba sihambeke sa partnerisha noma sakha budlelwane naletinye tinhlangano letifaka ekhathi bo Council of Churches la letindzaba lesetiye tidzinge bameli kubangenisa etingonini letifanele siye silekelelwe ngabo siphindze futhi sabane ma programs la khona sikhulumisa tindzaba tabo gender based violence letikhungathe kakhulu bomake emakhaya ngoba kulokunye uyuthole ukuthi labo make siyabafundisa sibanika lemakhono ema life skills ukuthi bakhe bo star soft bo polish umthole ukuthi make soyathuthuka klemnotho akasakuthandi ke babe lokho sekuyacala ke sekuba naloku kuncukutana ukuthi abekujabulela babe ukuthi ujayivela lakhe linangjani alugitani nawe naso ucontributor akusemnanzi so ngiloko ke lokunye lesiye sibafundzise siya trainer nema counselors etigungwini la ngiwona ahlala phasi achushisane nalabo maki uthole ukuthi ke nangabe iyawe sinze ama counselors at community level sesinebudlelwane ke naphumelela project sinebudlelwane naswaka
I think lenye indzaba nje loyivedile lemcoka make mthotha indzaba ukuthi vele solo mangabe ongimake longakenzi sola ukhona ukukhonda kepha ngicabanga ukuthi leto tindzaba lensolweni nisachubeka nje nitisebenta ninhlangano ngabe kukhona yini mhlambe indzawo lapho senikhonile ukuthi vele nikhulumisane nemphakathi nabobandla kancane ukuthi bomake nabo mhlambe labafelokati noma labasola bangakenzi bakhona khonda
i-community lesakhona kukhuluma naye ubandla kancane wakhona kwaba i-community yaseBulembu la sakhona kufundisa abandla kancane sisebenzisa wona lo mthetho sisekelo lapho ke cha bomake sebayayithola indzawo ngekukhululeka kuletinye indzawo kuselukhuni kodwa bayabanika bomake bakuleyo ndzawo lotelelwe khona kuselukhuni nje ukuthi mina ngasuka ngiyofuna indzawo la ngakatalelwa khona kwenyaka
kuba yini lenkinga baveta DPD zapho
inkinga lenkulu ukuthi liningi labo bandla kancane kudominate bobabe labaningi labanye uyovela nje uthole ukuthi bobabe so banalokuthi utawungenisa emadvodza utawugwazana emadvodza bese uyadibuta lokuthi lamadvodza kusuke kungimaphi ngoba kusuke kulamadvodza ecommunity lokufunela ubandla kancane akhalime emadvodza ecommunity uthi cha madvodza sekukhonde nangu lamagagula lapha asifuni ke kubona indvodza seyiya lapha kalamagagula kuyawudala amagagula atendele isinqumo ukuthi wo mina sengitikhethele kuhlekisana nababebani into letinjalo but vele kuba ngawo ungakafiki ngisho lekubabe chief kuvimba yena nje bandla kancane emathinci angafuni ukuthi letindzaba dikhuluma lokunye ke lesikutholile sisakhuluma ngalomthetho sisekelo ukuthi uyalisho nje ligcwale umlomo lomnyiba belokubandla kancane athi hayi siyaniva bomake kulento yeni emthetho sisekelo hambani ke niyofuna lo mhlaba lo la kulomthetho sisekelo so lengubuka ukuthi umthetho sisekelo it's a good document lengakhona kusita ithuthukise emalungelo abomake inkinga lenkulu kwaba ngilokuthi naso ubuya lo mthetho sisekelo lemicondo yalamaswati lebeyibekwa la akazange kuba nalelithuba lokuthi bafundziseke ukuthi nangu ke umthetho sisekelo wenu wemaswati uthi lesingathi pheceleti le unpacking of the constitution was not there it was never done by them
uthinzele ndzabeke ukuthi anihlangana nabo make kuphela kepha namamfombatana nje nawo lamancane kuba khona lokho kuba trainer lokho ingabe bona tingenga labahlangabetana nato kuba yini I think ngingafunza futhi bekukhuluma nje US ambassador ngeminyaka wa 2019 nane commemorate ngeminyaka wa 2019 washo lokho ukuthi vele I think labakubonaka indzabeke ukuthi bangabe lamamfombatana atawababedela ama resources noma ke timfanelo tekuphila vele batawukhanza sebawelela ngala sebathi khanza sebathanzana nabo babe labadzala ngenxa yokuthi bafuna imali bafuna kuthenga lokho kudla bafuna kuthenga ama toiletries ingabe vele mhlambe imfo leli lekhona enivele leyenteka kanganani leyo lemakhaya
kuyinto lekhona yenteka mbamba so thina tinhlelo lesinato bantu labasha batikhulumela bodwa batithathele tinqumo bodwa banato ke lelithuba lekuthi baye kuma trainings siyabanjinja njalo ngeminyaka lesithi i-feminist school la bafundisa khona ukuthi bangatimela kanjani babodwa tinqumo bangatithatha kanjani kuba vele i-youth yodwa from 18 to 35 years asiye singati ke but ke siyesibone nje kuma reports ukuthi these are the naku labaqhamuke nako basana njana base kulama workshop ngoba yiva makuthatha liviki this year nje bese Mozambique la bekuhambe emalunga lasithupha khona even la kaNgwane ka rural women laba yekhona siyakubona lokhu kakhulu sikubona futhi nakulabantwana lothola ukuthi sebede badali akekho make akekho baba uthole ukuthi lokunye kwenteka kulabantu bemango labangibona basemandleni noma emagunyeni uthole nje ukuthi umntwana soyahlukubeteka kodwa ke sesibafundzise ngoba ngaphandle kwe rural women kune ma structures la khona emimangweni bohlombe lekhalela abagcugcutele emaphoyisa emango nalabo siyasebenzisana nabo ngoba lamanye emalunga ethu nje angawe emaphoyisa emango esifazane nebagcugcuteli nabo hlombe lekhalela uyothole kusiletinye tindzaba abati letha kithi siyinhlangano bese sithatha indlela ke letifanele manje ke lokunye leyothola ke ukuthi siyahlangabetana nako kube indzaba ye sort of act nayicala 2018 kube netinkinga kakhulu ukuthi kuphinze kube ngulokuthi sowukhulelisile lo mfana wakami ukhulelise intombatana lapha kamakhelwane bonke bayafunza bese uthola ukuthi ngalesinye isikhathi kuphinze kube ngilabo make labathi nangabe uyaboshwa lo mfana utondliwa ngibani lo mntwana so naloko ke ngitona tifundziso lesiphinze njalo sitifaka kuboma ke ukuthi akusiko kahle na ubuka lo mthetho ukuthi nawati so ubonile nawe usiboshwa lokuthi nje umfana wakubikela ukuthi uyathi mina ngiyadlwengulwa wathula usiboshwa sekucala wena so sebacala ke bomake nyalo ema cases bayawaletha bayawa reporter siwasebente ngalokufanele umthetho uthathe indzawo yawo ngalokufanele
okay lo shokuthi khona vele ngicubekela phambili solona cala nje kepha ngomnyaka 2010
26 inhlangano yaqala nga2009 yalonjwa nga2011 yaregister ngalokusemthethweni ngemthetho wahulumeni welive la kaNgwane nga2013
lo shokuthi yonke nje leminyaka lemingakani yawubona nomsebenzweni wentako ukuthi okay likhona lishintsho lapha nalapha
siyababona bomake likhona lishintsho ngoba ikakhulu bomake bebangakhulumi na kunabo babe emihlanganweni bebangawathathi futhi nema position lakhi emimangweni njengakube nje uthi maka ngaba kubandla kancane abangaba ngusihlalo wekomiti bothola sesikhatsini lesiningi bomake bakhetha abobabi so bomake ngekufundiseka sesiyababona bayawathatha emanangjani bayawathatha ema positions lakhi emimangweni sibonile nelikhetho lalonyaka baningi bomake labasukumile behluleke endleleni kodwa nje usichazile lokuthi siyababona bomake basukuma bathatha ikhundla dikubacopho labanye bafuna kuba induna tetinkundla labanye bafuna kuba bo MP ngulelinye eligalelo lesibona ukuthi bomake kancane kancane ngekufundiseka baya khona lokuthi basukume
okay ngoba sesengasemaphethelweni nje le commemoration nidayibamba mhla ka18 October ingabe yini mhlambe lesingayigaza nje ngathi ukuthi kuye kude nalabanye bomake balethe inhlangano nje kulamavelo wabalile ukuthi la kuna Rural Women Assembly khona ingabe vele mhlambe sitakubona nalonyaka nanigubha lolisuku
ikakhulu kulolu kakhulu sikhuluma indzaba yetinhlanyelo tesintu lethi silahlekele letide umthetho lokhona even la kaNgwane futhi siphinze njalo sikhulumise indzaba yekudla lokunemaseko lamathathu lokukhicitwe bomake emakhaya kusho ukuthi ngalamanye emagama ngesilungu singathi creating a household value chain. Ati make uthi kulinywe ngimi nenhlanyelo ngiyayithola khona la kuphekwa ngimi ngalendlela lengatiko lokuthi uma ngikupheke kahle bantu abami batawukhula badle kudla lokumsoco lokunemsoco futhi lokuyimpilo ngoba lokunye kudla kwethu keSiswati kuyaphilisana kuyavikela nasetifeni.
Okay, so itabe kuphi commemoration lo nyaka?
Lo nyaka isesifundeni saseshiselweni kaGodloza la besihlongota kuyakhona mhla ka-18 ngalesithathu.
Yeah, so bomake bonke bamenyiwe mosikuthi bangeta babengcinye.
Bomake bonke bamenyiwe siyamema nema-partners ethu bophela nabo Cospe kanjalo sibuka nalokuthi lo nyaka si October sigubha kanye ne-breast cancer day. Sidamfunana nesu lotawukhulumisa letindzaba kubomake ukuthi sisakhuluma nangalokudla lokuyimpilo sithi gadza kanjani sibomake ungatikhanzi sowudla kudla nje lokutawugcwalisa sisi kodwa kubete letithako letitawuba nemsoco diphindze njalo tilaphe lo mtimba wamake.
Okay, ngiyavala sibonga khona bakemthutha kuba nasi lo mhla ekseni mbukelise ukudivele ukuthi mhla ka-18 October kutabe uhlangene bomake kakhulukazi basemakhaya hlangana ke i-Royal Women Assembly tabe ikupa lilanga labo mhla ka-18 October khona eshiselweni. Sibahlelo emakethe sibuye siphethe hlelo.
Let me tell you about my crush.
Ngenzale inhliziyo yami embi kwakho njengesidanga.
Nkondlo yesiswati.
It is 3 in the afternoon. We are back in the living.
For men are so kind towards creation more than they even were to their own creator. I am the greatest of this generation. They'll be calling me the girl who made poetry look cool, yo. Cool.
Uyezwana uthokandaba emagumbamane omhlaba ngemandla sibaya esigodlweni elitsitsini mhlati ngemashumi lamabili nakuthathu imbala usho njalo ke mswazi omnyama kulabaluthuli ulodunganzaba wasembelebeleni ulodunganzaba wasemambondweni uduma phasi bakuzwe ngezingcingo msakandaba bakuzwa ngezingcingo bayakubalekela bayethe wena waphakathi.
Bukelekisele nje only 3 minutes kuthi kushaya insimbi esiphohlongo lomhla ekseni sifike emaphethelweni ehlelo lethu lomhla ekseni. I think nje solo nje sichubeka nesimemethelo siphuthumako mnguni ukuthi emalungu eParliamente kubhekekile ukuthi ayaParliamente lomhla ekseni nga 11:30.
Emsebenzini lomkhulu nje bekunconywa kwema-senators indlu yetimphunga kutawuphelela iParliamente yonke sikhathi ukuthi kente-ke ma-developments lamanengi kulolo hlangothi lolo lesingeke siti-preempt elungelele kodwa nje umbukeli akachubeka abukele umsakazo wethu Eswatini TV kuningi lokumnanzi lokutawendeka mayelana-ke nendzaba yeParliamente. Also it is World Mental Health Day lomuhla kwelo muhle sithi indzaba nje the-World Mental Health solo sithi ihambisa embili.
All right, sale kahle sanibona kusasa.